My brother Jesus calls my phone and he tells me, Nicole, and I said, what's going on? And I could still hear a lot of yelling, a lot of racket in the background. And I say, what's going on? What's that yelling? And he says, you need to come quick because the cops have shot and killed Tata. The day of March 9, 2020, we were there hanging out, watching movies, having girl time, when my sister Jessica receives a phone call from my brother, Jesus Garcia Jr.
So Nicole goes, just answer the phone, Jessica, just answer the phone. So I answered it, and I'm like, hello? And Jesus is like,
you need to come quick. The cops are here, and they shot Tata. And you could just hear a lot of racket in the background, a lot of screaming and yelling. And
I never imagined my dad getting killed. Never. I understand that death is a part of life, but I never thought that my dad was gonna get killed. Never.
I didn't believe it. And so I just hung up the phone and I told my sisters, get the boys and the girls' shoes on and let's go quick. Whenever we get to my mom and dad's neighborhood, the whole street is filled up with Bexar County Sheriff trucks, with fire trucks, with ambulances, with the news there.
Me and Nicole got off fast, and I don't remember, one of the Bexar County officers came to us and they said, excuse me, y'all have to get back in the car. We're like, but that's our dad. What happened? What happened? And I said, is my dad dead? And they were like, no, he's not dead. We're calling Air Life right now. And I said, okay. And I told Nicole all happy. I was like, he's not dead.
We asked the neighbors what's going on. They said, well, your parents had a dispute. They were arguing. Just for both of their safety, my husband caught the cops. After a while, the neighbor was like, we heard like 5 or 6 gunshots. And after that, we heard your mom yelling and screaming. And I said, have you seen my dad? And she said, no.
Why didn't they taser him? Why didn't they do something else? Why did they have to shoot him? And so I kept saying, I told the detective, I was like, why shoot him that many times? Like, just basically wanted to kill him. It wasn't right.
Jesus Garcia was killed in his own home by an officer who issued no warning, who fired his gun 10 seconds after he barged in. That is an excessive use of force. It's an unreasonable use of force. He was deprived of his right to life, and he was deprived of his right to medical attention. The officer who shot him, Deputy Moran, offered no medical assistance, even though he had CPR training and first aid training. We are seeking to hold that officer accountable for the excessive use of force and for failing to provide medical assistance. We're also seeking to hold the Bexar County Sheriff's Office accountable for having an inadequate use of force policy that allowed for this kind of situation to happen.
I think that a mental crisis team should have still been called, you know, regardless of what was said. The officer who shot and killed my dad, on the report says that he was frustrated because it's like if he was already there at the house, someone was saying that he was already at the house, but he was in such location. And I feel like he took out his frustration out on my dad because he was frustrated for people saying that he was already at the house and he wasn't. My dad didn't even know that a second officer had arrived at his house. My dad had his back turned when the officer shot and killed my dad.
First of all, the family deserves justice. Mr. Garcia deserves justice. His wife, his daughters, his sons deserve justice. They had their husband and their father taken away from them, and the officer that did that in the Bexar County Sheriff's Office must be held accountable. Second, The Bexar County Sheriff's Office is developing a track record of these kinds of situations. There have been a number of cases in recent history where individuals were killed in situations that were completely needless, where officers used an unreasonable amount of force. We don't want any other family in Bexar County to have to go through what the Garcia family is going through.
Me and my family have been told by the district attorney that the case is gonna get to the grand jury by January, by February, and it's just like, me and my family are like, what's the holdup? What's taking so long? It's just me and my family want justice and for the officer to pay for what he did, because what he did was not right.
Even if Officer Moran is not held criminally responsible for what he did, the jury in our case is going to be able to see the camera footage and determine for itself whether or not Officer Moran acted unreasonably. They will be able to see that he fired his gun 7 times within 10 seconds of entering the home, despite the fact that an Elmendorf officer was already in the home for about 4 or 5 minutes attempting to de-escalate the situation.
Losing my father, Jesus Benito Garcia, caused a lot of damage to my family and myself.
My dad was he was real, I can't say that he was antisocial because he was social, but to avoid any kind of drama or conflict, he chose to move out to Elmendorf, move out to the country, because, the west side of San Antonio, everyone knows each other. There's nothing but cheese man, and he was real big on that. He was like, no, I don't want to be in nobody's mess. He was a family person. His family was me and my siblings with my mom.
Like everybody else calls their dad, but we would call him Tata. And I would call their phone, my mom and dad's phone, and I would say, Tata, I have an appointment, I'm worried. They're gonna do this test on me. They're gonna check for my heart and all these kinds of tests. And he would always tell me, don't worry, mija, everything's gonna be fine. He would say, worrying is not gonna add a minute to your life. It's not gonna do anything but cause damage to you. And he would always say, it's what God wants, mija. Whatever happens is what God wants.